Okay, let us continue from book 8, right? Of Plato's The Republic. So, in this book, the central character Socrates says that the just city is bound to change over time because of the natural law of decay. This means that things are bound to progress from the best to the worst in any given state, and the cycle continues. Sometimes the state might have to break up, all right, because of certain problems in its body politic. The state, the just city, the just state, the just country is bound to change over time because of the natural law of decay. That's why empires fall. That's why what happens? Empires fall. Because even in the best moments of the empire, there are certain things happening on the ground that would later destroy the empire. Either the citizens will be so overfed that they'll relax, they think there's nothing to be done again, and that pleasure will ruin them. All right? Sometimes you could still have accidents in the best roads because some drivers will take undue advantage of the good road to overspeed. So that's what happens in the just city. Good times might bring bad character, things that will destroy the city later. Might make the citizens relax on the things that should guard the city. They might even drink, make merriment, and relax their security, and other invaders will come in and overrun them. So Plato gives the systems of government and grades them from the best to the worst. In this book, Plato cites the forms of government, grading them from the best to the worst. The first one, which he considers the best, is aristocracy. 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 The second one is timocracy. 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 Aristocracy is the one that Plato considers the best form of government because it is the government by the noble, government by the noble citizens, government by the elite citizens, government by the best minds, select few, right, of the best mind, government by the best citizens, aristocracy, all right? The Romans usually selected the best citizens to lead. Like could be the best intellectually or speech-wise and all of that. Morality, all of that. Government by the elite, government by the nobles, government by the highest class of citizens. It's aristocracy, and he says that is the best form of government. And then you have timocracy, T-I-M-O, and you write crazy. Timocracy. Timocracy. Did you get that? So this is the form of government in which possession of property is required in order to hold office. In which possession of property is required in order to hold office, in order for one to hold office. Government by the wealthy. Government by the wealthy few. Government by the wealthy few. Property owners. In democracy, you need to have property in order to be part of the government. You need to own property in order to be part of the government. Property like land, houses will qualify you to be part of government. So government by the wealthy few, it's democracy. Then you have oligarchy. 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 The government by a small group of people having control. Government by a small group of people. Government by a small group of people. For instance, when we say that the president is just sitting down there, that only about 3 persons are controlling him. All right? Those are the oligarchs. All right? The oligarchs. Oligarchy. Coming by a small group of people. When a small group of people take control of the country and run it, we are in oligarchy. Then we have democracy. Democracy. Are we in a democracy? All right. A system of government by the whole population. System of government by the whole population. System of government by the whole population. Or their representatives. Government by the mob. Government of the mob. That's why we call it the government of the people, for the people and by the people. Democracy. But it's as if in Nigeria it's not democracy, it's oligarchy. Okay? Because they are not aristocrats. Right? We are not practicing on this aristocracy in Nigeria because we are not being ruled by the best. Okay? There's a bit of democracy there and a bit of oligarchy there. Right? And no democracy. Then finally we have tyranny. Tyranny. Dictatorship. Tyranny. Dictatorship. Someone has just gone on to spell dictatorship, abandoning tyranny. Tyranny is spelled Tyranny. Okay? But you know, in some local government, they'll say tyranny, right? But in the UK, where I come from, we normally say that's a tyranny, right? Okay? Tyranny. Government by the worst set of citizens. It's a cruel and oppressive government. So I think this is the government that we have in Nigeria now. They are in tyranny. Cruel and oppressive government or rule, dictatorship. So the the governmental system, according to Plato, will proceed from the best to the worst. The best being aristocracy, and the worst being tyranny. Book 9. Book 9. In this book, Plato explains who a tyrant is, or a tyrannical individual is. He talks about three types of individuals. He talks about three types of individuals, right? He talks about three types of individuals. One who pursues wisdom, one who pursues honor, and one who pursues profits. One who pursues wisdom, one who pursues honor, and one who pursues profits. It goes on to say that 729 times the best life is more pleasant than the worst. We strive to live the best life, the good life. 729 times the best life is more pleasant than the worst. "729 times the best life is more pleasant than the worst." Book 10. Book 10. Book 10. In Book 10, Plato returns to the need to censor art and poetry and literature in society. The need to censor art and poetry or literature in society. The book ends with a discussion on immortality. The book ends with a discussion on immortality. So we move on to look at Aristotle's humanism. We are done with Plato's humanism. We want to discuss Aristotle's humanism. Aristotle lived between 384 and 322 BC. 384 and 322 BC. Aristotle's work emphasizes the elements of a literary work. Aristotle's work emphasizes the elements of a literary work. Aristotle was Plato's student. So he had studied in the academy. And later, when he graduated, he founded his own school, the Lyceum. Under his own school, the Lyceum. The Lyceum was a school of scientific and philosophical thought and investigation. The Lyceum was a school of scientific and philosophical thought and investigation. The Lyceum is on the board. Aristotle wrote the Poetics. Aristotle's major work is the Poetics. So the Poetics was mostly written as a response to Plato's accusation of poets and poetry, that's literature, in the Republic. What you need to know is that though Aristotle was Plato's student, he did not agree with most of the things that his teacher said about literature in the Republic. So that explained why Aristotle wrote the Poetics in order to counter some of the assertions that Plato made about literature in the Republic. Remember that Plato has said that literature should be banned and censored in the ideal society because of the bad influence that it will have on the youth, because literature was fiction, was a lie. And there the ancients were searching for reality, it is the truth. And the truth could only be found in the world of forms, the spiritual world, and not in the material world, which was a fake. And the poet was 2 steps removed from reality, because the world that he was imitating was an imitation itself. So literature was an imitation of an imitation. Now, let us see how Aristotle begins to debunk these claims in the Poetics. Because we owe the existence of literature today to Aristotle, who countered his teacher's assertion on literature. Aristotle refused to see literature as fiction. Instead, he sees literature as an imitation of reality, whereby the material world is the real world. We cannot see, according to Aristotle, since we cannot see the spiritual world, let us take the one that we see as the real world, so that the artist will only be imitating reality, the truth, and not a fake. So that literature then becomes 1 step removed from reality, not 2. So Aristotle agrees with Plato that literature is an imitation. Literature is an art of imitation. And goes on to state that imitation is an art that provides enjoyment or pleasure to people, and that human beings love the art of imitation. He goes on to say that imitation is an art that provides enjoyment or pleasure to people, and that human beings do love the art of imitation. Human beings do love the art of imitation. While Plato had believed that this type of pleasure can undermine the structure of society, Aristotle disagrees. Aristotle disagrees because he believes that literature is not two steps removed from reality, but only one step removed from reality. Plato had believed that the kind of entertainment that literature provides can undermine the structure of society. Aristotle disagrees with him because, according to Aristotle, literature imitates reality and it's only one step removed from reality, since he assumes that the physical world is the real world, the original world. So literature is imitating the truth and not fake, unlike what Plato said. So that makes literature to offer valuable entertainment that can lift the moral of society. In the Poetics, Aristotle emphasizes the universal nature of literature because poets depict what is possible or what can happen and not what had already happened. In the Poetics, Aristotle emphasizes the universal nature of literature because poets depict what is possible or what can happen and not what has already happened. So what we find here is an attempt by Aristotle to differentiate literature from history. History deals with what has already happened. Literature deals with what can happen, what is possible. And that makes literature higher than history. That makes literature to be what? To be elevated above history. Right? History deals with past events. Literature deals with possible events. Aristotle elevates literature over history because literature is more philosophical than history. Literature is more philosophical than history. This is so because while history emphasizes the particular, literature deals with the general. Literature is universal. While history emphasizes the particular, literature deals with the general. In this, literature also expresses the ideal. Literature also expresses the ideal which the ancients were looking for. The ideal. In this context, the ideal stands for things as they should be. The ideal is synonymous with things as they should be, and not things as they are. The ideal stands for things as they should be, and not things as they are. Things as they should be, and not things as they are. Aristotle was also favorably disposed to tragedy compared to comedy. He promoted tragedy over comedy because he saw tragedy as a serious art form compared to comedy. I saw as not a serious art form. So you could see that in the Poetics, Aristotle is concerned with tragedy because it is a literature of great people. It's a literature of greatness. It's a serious genre. And goes on to say that great writers write tragedy, lesser writers write comedy. Aristotle said that great writers write what? Tragedy. The not so great writers write comedy. Of course, we do not hold this idea today because comedy is also important, but this was Aristotle's idea. So tragedy mimics the action of great men. Tragedy mimics the action of great men, nobles, highly placed people in society. Lesser writers wrote comedy, which mimics the action of base men, peasants, riffraffs, thugs, vagabonds, wanderers, mountebanks. In the Poetics, Aristotle fashions the principles of tragedy. Fashions the principles of tragedy. One of the principles is that tragedy imitates nature. Tragedy imitates nature. Tragedy imitates nature. Tragedy imitates nature. Tragedy is a high form of art. Tragedy is a high form of art that imitates the action of noble characters and noble deeds. It takes the action of noble characters and noble deeds. Aristocrats in their method. Aristotle believed in the organic wholeness of the literary text. Aristotle believed in the organic wholeness of the literary text. That means that work of art has its own structure. The work of art has its own structure. Okay? The work of art has its own structure. Aristotle believed in the organic wholeness of the literary text, meaning that the work of art has its own form, internal form, just like life itself. So the work of art should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, plot-wise. The work of art should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, plot-wise. Plot-wise. That's part of the things that show the organic wholeness of the text, its form, its internal form. The plot of the tragedy should be it should be in such a way that it has a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. And he insists that all the parts should be organically related. All the parts should be organically related. All the parts should be organically related. Because he's dealing with tragedy, then he goes on to define the tragic hero. Aristotle goes on to define the tragic hero. The tragic hero, according to Aristotle, must be a highly placed member of society. He must be a highly placed member of society with admirable and desirable qualities. The tragic hero must be a highly placed member of society with admirable and desirable qualities. Be a king, a queen, a knight, someone well respected and revered in society, with all the admirable and desirable qualities, like love, patience, humility, honesty, and so on and so forth. But then he must have a flaw. F-L-A-W. He must have a flaw. F-L-A-W. He must have a flaw. The tragic hero, with all these admirable traits, must have what? A flaw. That is a weakness in the moral constitution of the character. A weakness in the moral constitution of the character that will bring him down, that will lead to his downfall, that will lead to his destruction, disgrace, and even death. That will make him bite the dust. This weakness, usually called hubris or amartia. Is it called what? Hubris or amartia. Hubris refers to pride or arrogance in the tragic hero. Hubris refers specifically to pride or arrogance in the tragic hero that leads to his destruction, disgrace, and death. Arrogance or pride, excesses. All right? Whereas hamartia refers to any weakness in the tragic hero, including pride and arrogance. Any weakness in the tragic hero, including pride and arrogance, that leads to his destruction. So the tragic hero is usually arrogant, even to the point of questioning nature or the gods. And then they have to pay for it. We call it excesses. When they have crossed the human boundaries, when they have done it too much. Okay? When they have crossed the human boundaries, when they have done it too much, they have overdone it. Okay? Excesses. Okay? As when people say, you own done too much. You own done too much. Okay? As excesses, pride and arrogance. There's nothing anybody can do. Right? Impunity. In the tragic hero. Aristotle also talks on catharsis. Catharsis. C-A-T-H-A-R-S-I-S. Catharsis. Referring to the audience emotion, which must be purged. Referring to the audience emotion, which must be purged. Cleansed. And all questions clarified. Because the tragedy is based on affecting the mind of the audience. The author must not leave it like that. Must not allow the audience to live without purging their emotions, answering all their questions. So catharsis refers to the purging of the emotion. The part of the plot where in the resolution, where the emotions of the reader is purged of all fears and anxieties. Aristotle maintained that tragedy must pursue the universal. Tragedy must pursue the universal. Aristotle maintained that tragedy must pursue the universal, and not the particular. Must pursue the universal and not the particular. Because literature deals with what could happen and not what has already happened. Literature deals with what could happen, not what has already happened. What could happen is the ideal. That is what should be. And it is closer to truth or perfection, which the ancients were looking for. What could happen is the ideal, and it is closer to truth or perfection. Remember that the ancients, the classical people, were looking for truth or reality. The author should pay attention to language in the drama, in tragedy. The author should pay attention to language in tragedy. Because thoughts are expressed through language. Thoughts are expressed through language. Okay, so before we move on to talk about the humanism of Cicero, let us examine the 6 Aristotelian dramatic elements. The 6 Aristotelian dramatic elements. These are: 1. Plot. Plot, known as mythos. Mythos. 2. Character, known as eth or ethos. 3. Diction, known as lexis. 4. Thought, known as dana. 5. Melody, known as melos or mulpi. 6. Melody. 5. Spectacle. 5. Spectacle, known as opsis. Opsis. 6. Melody, known as mulpi or melos. Those are the 6 Aristotelian elements of drama. Let's start with 1. Plot. Plot is called mythos. It answers the question what. Answers the question what. It answers the question what. And it's all about the main action, the subject matter of the text, what the text is all about. It depicts the main action, the subject matter of the text, what the text is all about. It includes the selection and organization of events in the tragedy. Plot entails the selection and organization of events in the tragedy. The selection and organization of events in the tragedy. The plot of the work should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. The plot of the work should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and should be related. That all the parts should come together in a related manner. The Aristotelian plot has been developed over time. The Aristotelian plot has been developed over time and today exists in the form of Freytag's pyramid. In the form of Freytag's pyramid. So as I said, the Aristotelian plots have been developed over time and today exists mainly in the form of the Freytag pyramid, developed by Gustav Freytag, and has a 5-part structure. Okay, that's the 5-part structure of 1, exposition; 2, rising action; 3, climax; 4, falling action; and 5, resolution. Can be represented thus: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. That is the Freytag pyramid. In case someone asks you, what's the Freytag pyramid? It's a 5-part plus structure developed by Gustav Freytag, consisting of exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and what? Resolution. So the exposition is the beginning part of the plot. The exposition is the beginning part of the plot. The initial part of the plot. That is the exposition. It is where the story is introduced. The exposition is where the main action is introduced at the beginning of the story. It is the first part of the plot where the main action and the main characters are introduced. That is the exposition. The first part of the plot, the introductory part of the plot, where the main action and the main characters are introduced. Then after that, you have the rising action. So in the exposition, the main characters, the main action, the main conflict is introduced. In the rising action, the conflict is escalated or is complicated. That is why you don't call it rising action, you call it complication. Call it what? Complication. Things get complicated. Right? Whatever conflict began here is complicated here. Oh, complication. And then after that, that means in the rising action, things get worse. In the rising action, things get worse. In the rising action, things get worse. Right? The conflicts are escalated, are complicated. And then you then move on to the climax. The climax is the apex of action. The climax is the apex of action. The climax is the apex of action. It is where the conflicts get to a head. Where the conflicts get to a head. It is the most heightened part of the drama. It is the most tension-filled part of the drama. And then after the climax, you go down to falling action. In the falling action, motives are explained, questions are answered, loose ends of the plot are tied, preparing the audience for resolution, which is the last part. The resolution is where the conflicts are resolved and the audience achieves catharsis. Let's move on to character. Number 2, character. Number 2, character. They call it ethos. They call it what? Ethos. Everyone say ethos. Ethos. Okay? It refers to the abstract moral quality. The abstract moral quality in the character. The play should be made up of a mix of good and bad characters. Should be a contest between the good guys and the bad guys. Okay? The play ought to be a contest between the good guys and the bad guys. For instance, the tragic hero is one blessed with admirable qualities, though with a tragic flaw. Apart from that, there should be good characters and there should be bad characters. Then you have 3, diction. 3, diction. Diction. You call it lexis. Diction is lexis. The choice of words. It refers to what? The choice of words. The language of the text. The language of tragedy. That's what diction is all about. The language used in the play. So diction refers to how language is deployed in the literary text. The word choice or the use of language in the literary text. And in drama, this concerns the dialogue. Concerns what? The dialogue. Then number 4 is thought. Number 4 is thought. Dana. 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 That's number 4. It refers to the ideas or the thinking that makes a work of art. The ideas or the thinking that makes a work of art. Here we are talking about themes. We're talking about themes. At this point, we are talking about themes. Thought is the thinking or logic that motivates action. And that talks about the themes of the work. It answers the question why. Diction answers the question how. Because we are talking about language. How does the author convey thought? That's language, the style of the work of art. The tropes, the figure of speech, and all of that, the idioms, the imagery, the symbolism. Character answers the question who. Who is the work of art about? Who is the hero? Who's the villain? Who's the protagonist? And then 5, spectacle. Spectacle. 5 is spectacle. You call it abscess. That's what you call it. Abscess. Spectacle or abscess? Spectacle or abscess. It answers the question where. Answers the question where. Where. So spectacle answers the question where and refers to the performance of the play. Everything that goes into the performance of the play, everything that you see on stage, all right, signifies or signals spectacle. Everything that we see on the stage, right? The costumes, the props, the stage decoration, they all account for what? Spectacle. They all account for spectacle. Right. And then finally, you have melody. It was a melody. I suppose when we mention melody, you should be happy. But there should be melody in your heart. Okay? And that is mellows or morpe. Mellows or morpe. Right? Melody accounts for all the music, the chorus in the Greek drama. The music and the chorus in Greek drama. The music and the chorus in Greek drama. Melody accounts for the music or the chorus in Greek drama. Normally, you need to understand, you must understand that the chorus is a group of characters that sings in Greek drama. All right? Though the song that they sing also refers to the chorus. So the chorus can chorus, right? The chorus can chorus. Other terms designated in Aristotelian conception of tragedy as follows. Other terms designated in Aristotelian conception of tragedy as follows. 1. Amartia. 2. Hubris. 3. Peripathy. 4. Anagnorisis. And 5. Catharsis. I'll take them again. 1. Amartia. 2. Hubris. 3. Peripathy. We call it peripetia. 4. Anagnorisis. Anagnorisis. And 5. Catharsis. We have already talked about amartia and hubris. Amartia is a flaw in the moral constitution of the tragic hero that results in his fall, death, or disgrace. Hubris refers to the pride and arrogance in the tragic hero, excesses. Right? Then peripetia refers to a sudden reversal in the fortunes of the tragic hero, which leads to his downfall. A sudden reversal, a turn of events that is tragic in nature for the tragic hero. A sudden reversal in the fortunes of the tragic hero. That's peripetia or peripathy. A sudden reversal. Things are going well for the tragic hero, then suddenly things begin to turn for the bad, for the worse. And that would lead to the downfall, disgrace, or death. So that's peripetia. So if you ask about the sudden reversal in the fortunes of the tragic hero, that's peripetia. And then anagnorisis. Anagnorisis is a sudden awareness or realization, sudden enlightenment or knowledge that spells doom for the tragic hero. A sudden knowledge, a sudden awareness, sudden enlightenment, sudden realization. Alright? Meaning that until he knows this truth, he was safe. He was fine. Things were going well. But the knowledge, the revelation, is his destruction. That's an agnosis. A sudden awareness, sudden knowledge, sudden realization, sudden revelation that results in the downfall of the tragic hero. That's an agnosis. Okay? For instance, as long as the secret prevails, the tragic hero is fine. But once it is revealed, he's gone. Because the knowledge is destructive to his existence. Take, for instance, Oedipus the king. As long as he does not know his real parents, he's fine. He's king and can command anyone. But immediately he's told of who his real parents are, and his tragedy begins. So that sudden revelation that, look, your wife is your mother. Right? This is destruction. That's an agnosis. Then catharsis. We already talked about catharsis. Catharsis refers to the purging of the emotion. Purging of the emotion of the audience at the end of tragedy, in the resolution. Another concept that we want to discuss in Aristotelian conception of tragedy is the three unities. Ever heard of the three unities? Let's talk about the three unities. The three unities. The three unities are action, place, and time. The rule of action states that the play should have a single action. The rule of place states that the play should occur at a single place. The rule of time states that the play should take place in the course of a day. The temporal setting of the play should be one day, one revolution of the sun. Okay? The play should take place in the course of the day. So the three unities are action, place, and time. The unity of action, unity of place, unity of time. The unity of action implies that the play should have a single main action. Others can be subplots. The unity of place stipulates that the play should occur at a single place. The unity of time stipulates that the play should take place in the course of one day, one revolution of the sun. We have two more terms that we should take on classical drama, and these are Deus Ex Machina and Diabolus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina and Diabolus Ex Machina. Let us talk about Deus Ex Machina. It is a Greek expression. It's a Latin expression. It's a Latin expression for God from a machine. God from a machine. It's a Latin expression for God from a machine, or God on a machine. All right? It was a device in Greek drama for resolving certain conflicts through the intervention of the supernatural forces. It was a plot device in Greek drama for resolving certain conflicts through the intervention of the supernatural. When a situation seemed hopeless, when all hope was lost, all right, this supernatural force will descend on a chain on the stage to save or rescue the situation, or maybe people, all right? So they will descend on the chain as if God is coming down from heaven, all right? So that's the idea where you have God from the machine. Okay, there was a mechanical contraption on the stage that brings the God down to rescue the situation, maybe rescue people or solve a particular situation on the stage. All right, and this usually results in a happy ending. All right, so God from the machine is a plot resolution strategy in Greek drama where the supernatural force descends on a mechanical contraption to the stage to solve a problem, to rescue a situation. So now it is metaphorically used to describe such situations where all hope is lost and then suddenly there's an intervention to save the situation. You said there has been a Deus ex machina. Has been a Deus ex machina. The opposite is Diabolus ex machina. The opposite is Diabolus ex machina. The opposite is Diabolus ex machina. It's on the board. In Diabolus ex machina, the devil descends on the machine to cause trouble, right? To create chaos, bring about tragedies, destruction on a situation that was full of happiness. When people are happy, rejoicing, things are going well, and suddenly the devil comes down from the machine. So Diabolus ex machina, devil from the machine. Devil from the machine, Latin for devil from the machine. Usually turns a happy situation into a tragic situation. The devil from the machine. Okay, so that would be where we'll have to pause our class today on Survey of English Literature. I hope to see you same time, same place next week. Have a blessed day.